It's insane to me that I'm already making this video. I mean, you saw by the title, it is my 2K Q&A video here. I hit 2,000 subscribers over the weekend, which to me is literally mind-boggling. Like, I know a lot of people, and even 2,000 is not even that many people to some people who have like hundreds of thousands, but to me, when I literally expected nothing out of this except for my own pure entertainment, it's very shocking to me and crazy, and especially for it to happen over like a relatively short amount of time. I'm just very appreciative and very blown away by every single person who has subscribed or watched a video or left a comment. Like, thank you, thank you, thank you. And so I thought for hitting 2K, because I really like watching Q&As with YouTubers, even like book YouTubers that I love when they talk like a little bit more about themselves too, because it's like, as much as I love to talk about books and like hear them talk about books, I also want to know a little bit about them, because I want to be like invested in people as people and not just like the content that they create. So I don't know if anyone cares about this. A lot of these questions are book related, but some of them are not, and I kind of left it open-ended, whatever you wanted to ask me. And I was so nervous posting it, because I posted on my YouTube for questions and I posted it on my Instagram for questions, and I was like, watch, I'm gonna get like no questions, and then I'm gonna have to be like, well, never mind, I'm not doing that video. Like, I was fully prepared for like no one to send me a question, and then I got a lot of questions. And I was like very pleasantly surprised. And like, again, I think just I never expect good things. So I have a bunch of questions here. I have them all.
Fuck me.
Is it not ironic how when I said I don't expect good things, that then I spilled coffee all over my laptop and floor? Do we not see the irony there? I literally don't know how, but this is still where I tipped it upside down immediately, and it only got on the keyboard, so like none got up here in the crack at all. Where was I? Now there's like a giant wet spot on the floor where I'm trying to sit, but the lighting's like weird because of the sun right now, and now I'm like all hot and sweaty from running around trying to wipe up coffee. We're just gonna dab, dab, dab. Jesus Christ. Any new people here, they're like, this girl is a literal hot mess. And you know what? You're not wrong. Okay. So what I was saying was that I have a bunch of questions here. I did have a few repeats, so I kind of combined them into like one question. But I have them all here. I'm gonna run through them and answer them all. I feel like I can't start off this video without sending so many thanks to Jess from Peace Love Books. She has really done so much in like promoting my channel and like mentioning me in videos, and then she included me in her live show the other week, which then I got like a surge of followers after that. And she was like the original person who found my channel that like really gave it an initial boost. This was like before I had my book Instagram account. I had the account made because I was just like lurking on other people, but I didn't actually post that. So then when I was on my own personal story, or on my own personal Instagram, I follow Jess, and then I saw on her story, I was like, that's me. And she had like tagged my book accounts, and I switched over to that, and I was like, oh my God. Somehow I popped up onto her YouTube page and like a recommended, and she started watching my videos, and she shouted me out on her Instagram, and I got a huge like boost after that. And then shortly after that, Jen from the Book Refuge, again, thank you to Jen, had mentioned me in a video of like small creators to go and follow. And thank you to anyone who commented my name under her video for her to like find me and then mention me. Again, that really helped out my channel so much. And then just there have been multiple other times where Jess has like mentioned my channel in other videos or like shouted me out in other videos. So truly, like, without the two of them, like, who knows what kind of surge I would have gotten or like what kind of traction I would have gotten. But they like really helped boost that for me. Thank you to both of them. And then now let's jump into the questions. And I just want to say thank you once again to everyone who has supported me, because I appreciate it literally more than I can say. Also, the sun's being a little weird, so we're just gonna deal with that. You already know that. I'm just like waiting for this to shut down, but it's working. I tipped it really fast. I tipped it really fucking fast. Okay, so I got all of these either from YouTube. I had made like a community post, or from Instagram. I had done like a Q&A thing in my story. So all of these are from there. So thank you to everyone who sent me a question. First question is, what's the book you have reread the most? I used to reread books a lot more than I do now. I think before I like had a broader span of books and like watched YouTube and watched TikTok and like actively looked for recommendations, I used to reread more before I did all of that because I didn't really have a lot of books that I knew about or wanted to try. So I'd say by far the Hunger Games series, I don't know how many times I've read those books. I remember the first time I read them, I was in like 6th grade, and I truly couldn't tell you how many times I've read those books. A lot of times. Same with the Divergent series. I read those for the first time when I was a senior in high school, I think. And again, I've reread those. I think probably those I've read about 3 times. And then similar from Veronica Roth, I've read the Carve the Mark duology. I've read the first book, I think 3 times because I read it when it first came out. And then I read it right before The Fates Divide came out, the like second book. And then I read it again later on, like when I was working in Disney. I know I read it again. Also Scythe by Neil Shusterman, that first book I've read maybe 3 or 4 times because I had to read it in college for a class. And then I read it again like when Thunderhead came out, and then I read it again when The Toll came out. So I think then that one I probably read like 3 times as well. The Spectacular Now by Tim Tharp, I've read multiple times. I used to read that one like once every year. One of my all-time favorite movies, one of my all-time favorite books. The After series by Anna Todd, I've read the whole series through twice. And then I've read the first 3 books 3 times because then I reread them when each movie came out, and I did a vlog for rereading After We Fell. And then Off Campus, I know I've read at least the first 3 books, The Deal, The Mistake, and The Score, I've read 3 times. And then ACOTAR, I've also read the first 3 books I've read like 3 times, and then Frost and Starlight I think I've read twice. So like I said, like more books at the beginning of my like heavy reading journey, or books from like over the years when I was growing up, but over the past few years I have not really read a ton of books. Is there a book that you would like to see adapted into a movie or TV series? Oh my god, I have very mixed feelings about book adaptations to movies and TV shows, because while I love to see those worlds like come to life, if they go bad, they go bad. And like they can really taint your whole image of like the world. And I think the Hunger Games adaptations are fantastic. I love those movies and I love those books. However, I can never picture the characters how I used to picture them. And that's kind of sad in a way. I am probably more of a proponent of turning them into TV series or even like limited series like Big Little Lies over movies, because there's just so much to jam pack in. So, I mean, obviously ACOTAR is getting a TV adaptation. I'm excited for that. However, I would have loved to have seen Throne of Glass get made by HBO. I was a big Game of Thrones fan, obviously Arya. I would have loved to have seen them had like that high level budget, that high fantasy. I think that would have been really cool, and I think you could have done like 8 seasons, a season for each book. And I think that would have been really strong. However, the only thing with that is that like everyone who's read those books know that the books really are amazing starting at the 3rd book. So to keep them greenlit for that long would be kind of tricky, but I would love to see that. I just think like fantasy worlds come to life are cool. I'd love to see the Arc of Scythe trilogy by Neil Shusterman become a TV show. I think that would be really cool, like just in a society where no one dies and they're like these people that are literally allowed to just like kill people and like you just keep resetting. I think that would be a really cool show. As far as like romance books, I think the Devil's Night series by Penelope Douglas would make like a really great limited series. Again, probably on HBO, because I feel like if you're doing romance, you have to be able to do like R-rated stuff. I don't want to see any PG-13 shit with some of these books. So I would say the Devil's Night series would be really, really cool and like pretty edgy brought to life. I feel like that would be fun. But again, I think it would need like at least 2 seasons. Like I don't think you could cram it all into one. I just read Her Soul to Take by Harley LaRue, and actually I think that would make a really great TV show, or even a movie. I think in that case would be really cool. I just think like the setting of that, the atmosphere was so well written that I think it just would really translate into a show really well. And with like a demon and a cult and like this creepy town, I just think that would be really cool. But I do think that romance is just tricky, and as we've kind of seen with like the After series, and although granted I think they tried to make that suitable for teenagers, which was their mistake. And like, I mean, 50 Shades, those movies are enjoyable as hell. I've never read the book, but I love to watch just rich people living a life that I will never live. So adaptations even like that, gung-ho for. Okay, I'm gonna jump ahead quick to one of the other questions while I have Aria here. So I got a question, what is your cat's name? And I have two. I have two cats, two kittens. Dorian, of course, is scratching over here, but this one right here, this is Aria. Her full name is Aria Wren, and then my last name. But I named her Arya after Arya Stark in Game of Thrones, and then Ren is her middle name, as in Kylo Ren from Star Wars. And she's the cutest. She's a long-haired, I don't know, a long-haired cat. I adopted her and her brother. Dorian. This is Dorian Ray. Dorian is in Dorian Havillard from the Throne of Glass series, and Ray is his middle name, as in Ray Romano from Everybody Loves Raymond. That is one of my all-time favorite TV shows. Yeah, so Aria Wren and Dorian Ray. I adopted them from a ranch rescue in the state where I live here, and they had two other siblings. I don't know. They got adopted as well. I don't know if they're together or where they are. But when they had popped up on the website, I had been watching for so long because I knew I wanted to adopt some cats, and this rescue has tons. And I always link their wish list down in my description box. No pressure on that or anything, but I just listed down there just in case you're ever looking for somewhere to give, because it is like a fully self-run rescue by this one woman who helps home sick, orphaned, abandoned cats and kittens, and they're really big on like spaying and neutering to like help the population problem. Yeah, I adopted them earlier this year in May, and it's like the best decision I've ever made. They do make a lot of appearances because they're always around and they always need to be around me, so they do pop up a lot. But they're my babies. Okay, from the books you've read this year, which was the one that surprised you the most? What books have I even read this year? Books that I've been the most surprised by. You know what? I need to go grab my reading journal. One second. Easy. Probably It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. Because I read Hopeless and Confess last year, and I really did not like those. But then everyone was like, you need to read It Ends With Us, and I was fully not expecting to like it or really like any Colleen Hoover books. And then I read that one, and that was the surprise in the best way. I was so shocked how much I love that book. Oh, and then the other one was probably The Love Hypothesis by Allie Hazelwood, because again, like the hype around that book was so high, and I had very high expectations myself because I love Adam Driver and Raylo so much that I was nervous about it being like a traditionally published book, which I don't necessarily love. And I like leaps and bounds one of my absolute favorite books that I've read this year. So I think that was surprising to me, and the fact that it, one, lived up to the hype, and two, that it was like traditionally published, and I loved it. Trying to like scoot over so I'm away from the weird light that it's about to come in, but I'm like scooting into the coffee puddle on the carpet. Okay, so yep, answered that one. Okay, if this one's a mean one. When I saw this one come through on this was on YouTube, and I was like, this is a mean question. And it's, if you could go on a desert, or if you had to go on a desert island for a month and you could only bring one book with you, what would that be? And because normally I would say I would cheat and like be like, well, I'm going to bring this series, but I'm going to keep it true to just one book. And I this was one that I did kind of like see, and I couldn't help but think about. And I do think I would bring Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas. It's the final book in the Throne of Glass series. And I have a couple of reasons for that. One, it's like almost 1,000 pages long. So if I'm on a desert island for a month, I'm going to need a lot of reading material. And if the book is like 200, 300, 400 pages, I could easily like sit down and flip through that in a day. But with this book, like one, it would last me a while. And like on rereads, you know, it would take a little bit of time each time. All of the different characters and storylines would keep things very interesting, so I would never really get bored, where if I'm reading about like the same two characters, like I might get bored. And three, it really gives me a wide range of emotions. It makes me cry, it makes me smile, it makes me angry. Like really, it encompasses everything I want when I'm reading. Like it gives me that broad spectrum. So I think it's a good pick. It has amazing characters, great plot, minus Aedion being an absolute dick. I do think that that would be a great choice to take with me. It's a long book and it's a good book. Next was, what was your booktube journey like? Can you leave the cords alone, please? I know you've already chewed through them, but it would be preferable if you stopped. What has your booktube journey been like? I'd say so far it's been a very positive experience for me. I'm very lucky in that sense. I didn't upload my first video until last summer when I read the Throne of Glass series for the first time. And I just did like a 2-part vlog on that, really for myself for a couple of reasons. One, I thought it would be fun and like I wanted to capture my thoughts and like emotions so I could like look back on it. And 2, for my podcast Popcorn Chats that I co-host. Katie handles our editing for that because that's like what she does. That's what she went to school for, is like video, movie production, like creative writing, like all of that kind of like film editing, video stuff. Like she does, and she does on the side. Like that's what her job is. She does video production. She handles all of that. However, I know when she gets busy with other projects, I wanted to be prepared in the case that I had to start editing our videos, that I knew like the basic and ins and outs of editing videos. So then I thought doing that as well would be beneficial there. And then I found that I really liked making those 2 videos. And I posted them on YouTube at the time because I was too scared to go on TikTok, because I was on TikTok, but I had started to get traction on there, and then I was scared to put my face out there. Like I just stuck with my book paintings, and even still to this day, like I think I only have like 3 videos out there with my face on them. I just like stick to my book paintings on there. And like I felt a lot more comfortable over on YouTube because no one was really seeing my videos and they were kind of just for myself. And I didn't start consistently uploading, I don't think, until maybe around like March, April timeline. I had posted those back in like July or August, and then I just let those kind of sit. And then I did a few videos. I did like monthly wrap-ups. I did like favorites at the end of 2020. I did my first Banned, Forbidden, Taboo reading vlog, which is now like my most popular video that I have on here. But I just mostly did those again for myself, and it was fun to like start seeing that traction, but I still never expected it to go anywhere. And then, like I said in the beginning, then like Jess shouted me out, so then I started to get traction, and then I just started to notice like more and more people starting to come to my videos. And I don't think on YouTube like I've really ever had like mean people harassing me, which has been really nice because I know that's gonna change at some point, and I know that a lot of people have dealt with people being like very negative, and especially with some of the books that I talk about, I know I've like gotten like ridiculous comments and like really horrible comments on my TikTok when I've like posted about them, but then on YouTube like overwhelmingly people have kind of just like let me be, which is nice. I'm just waiting for that to change at some point when I talk about some of my favorite like really taboo books. But yeah, so now I'm like over a year in it from when I posted my first videos, and now I'm like, I still have not like been consistent about uploading for a full year, but at least it's been a full year since I've been on here, and I have to say that truly it has been like a very positive experience and something that has just been like very helpful for me. Like I work like a traditional like corporate job during the day, so it's really nice then to have a very creative outlet for myself on the side with this, and same with the podcast, because I am a very creative person and I need those outlets for myself. So between this and that and TikTok, like I do have a lot of creative avenues. I just truly love talking about books, so this is just like, it's genuinely fun for me, and I just want to keep on maintaining that, which is why like I don't force myself to finish reading vlogs if I don't want to. Like if I'm not feeling, like right now I have that Mariana Zapata reading vlog that I keep on like putting off the date for because I haven't been in the mood to read any of those books. I'm not going to force myself if I don't want to. Like I always want to maintain that sense of fun and that I'm just doing it because I love reading and not the fact that I feel like I need to be making a certain kind of video. And if that stalls my progress a little bit, then that's fine with me, because I would rather, you know, maintain a positive experience on here for myself. You can't tell, I'm long-winded as fuck, so this is gonna be a long video. Next question, I got in a few different variations, but it was all along the lines of like, what got you into romance? How did you get into romance? And I have touched on this in the After We Fell reading vlog, but obviously if you didn't watch that, you wouldn't have seen that, so I'll say it here. I did not know that romance was a genre outside of like the historical romances or like the Danielle Steele books. I thought that that's literally all that there was out there for romance. And I was just like completely naive to the fact that this was even a genre until I worked at Family Video for 7 years, RIP. Was it 7? No, it would have been 6 because I started when I was 18. Yeah, so 6 years, RIP now. And we used to get movies in and we could pre-street them. So we would get them in on like the Wednesday or Thursday before they're released on Tuesday of the next week. And I remember I was working one day and we got in like our boxes that day. So I was like processing them, getting them all ready. And then we got After in and I was like, I don't know what this is. And I tried every single week when I worked there to take home at least like 1 or 2 movies. So that way then I knew when the new ones came out. Like at least I had somewhat of a knowledge of the new movies that were coming out. And because I just love movies. And I saw After and I was like, oh, I think I remember seeing a trailer for this. Like I'm going to take this home, see what it's about. And I took it home and I watched it and I was like, what is this toxicity? I love it, which looking back, like the movie doesn't have anything on the toxicness of the books, but I was like, I was really into it. And then I had seen, and then like, I don't know if it was on the case or something, but it was like based on the international best-selling book After. I was like, oh, well, I need to get that. So then I requested it from my library and I got it in and I read the first book and I was like, what is this? I had never read romance. I had never read new adult. I had never read like steamy, spicy scenes before. And I was like enthralled by it. So then I went online and I tried to request the second book, but the second book waitlist was too long. And I was like, I literally need this now. Like, how could he do this to her? So I went on Amazon and I bought the box set and I think I read then the next 4 books all within the course of a week. Like I have never read books that fast, but I was addicted. And then only after I read all of those did then I realize that it was Harry Styles fan fiction. And I was like, what the hell? Because call me very naive. I did not really even know about like fan fiction or anything. And I was like, what is this? I was like, this is... that I need more of this. Then I was searching on Google and I was like books like After or like books similar to After. And then it recommended me a YouTube video for Lovely Like Laura. And then I started watching her. And then immediately from that, I started watching Jess. And the rest is history. I never looked back after that point. I just started reading more and more and more. And I would say I went from reading maybe like 3-4 books a year to now I read around like 160. So, and once I'm now into it, like I'm never leaving romance. So yeah, when I reread After We Fell, I was like, this is not how I remember it. Like I don't love this as much as I used to. I will never like shit on that series because it truly is what got me into romance. And I will always have like a soft spot in my heart for it. And I do think it did shape a lot of my reading tastes. Like I love new adult romance still. I love college romance and I love toxic relationships. So, in books. Sorry, I keep like twisting. I'm so trying to fight the sun right now. Like see, I lean the tiniest bit forward and the sun is in my face. And I could close my blinds, but then I don't have a ring light anymore, so I don't have the natural lighting. So this is a question that I did have to look up because I had literally no clue what this was. So I was asked, do you know your sun, moon, and rising sign? And I was like, is that not Scorpio? I didn't know that I had multiple different signs. So I think sun is Scorpio because I was born on November 16th. So I'm a Scorpio. I definitely connect with Scorpio energy. And then moon, I'm an Aquarius. I don't know anything about, is that good or bad? I don't know. And then rising, I'm a Leo. Again, is that good or bad? I don't know. Someone who knows more about astrology, please enlighten me. Are those good or bad? The only thing I really know about is Scorpio, but the other two, I'm like, I have no clue what that means. So, and let me tag on this other question. I got asked how old I am, and I am 24, obviously turning 25 in just a couple of weeks, which is crazy because when I was younger, I for sure thought, because my parents got married when they were 24, so I was like, oh, well, I'll for sure be married when I'm 24. That's a fucking joke. We're not gonna get into that here. This is not the place for that. Okay, then someone else asked, I think this one was from YouTube as well, and it was, are you a happy person? I don't know. I feel like that's a hard question to answer. Yes and no. I think probably on my videos, I try to always be like in a decent mood when I'm doing them, and like sometimes I get in the mood where I'm like, oh, I want to film. And then other videos, I think you guys can sometimes tell when I'm like just not in the best mood, but I'm like, I need to like get this video done, especially like when it's monthly wrap-ups and I'm like, I need to film this like on a timely basis. And if I'm not feeling it, then like it definitely comes across. I did mention in a couple videos ago in one of my monthly wrap-ups because one of the books that I was reading had a character with OCD in it, and I talked about how I didn't really like the tone around OCD in that, and I kind of alluded to that. So ever since I was 11 or 12 was when I first got diagnosed with a few different mental illnesses, and so that's definitely been something that I've struggled with since I was really young, since before I can remember. I don't really remember what it's like to not have anxiety, to not have these little compulsions, to not be sad for no reason or numb for no reason. I don't really remember what it was like beforehand now. So yeah, I definitely struggle with my mental health. I do talk about that a little bit more on Popcorn Chats. I think because I make more jokes. I think because Katie and I have very self-deprecating senses of humor, and we definitely use humor to cope. So a lot of times we joke around about our mental health over on there, because it's how I cope. I don't necessarily talk about it on here because like I said, it doesn't really feel natural to, but I definitely would say I'm not necessarily a happy person. I would say I used to be happier. But I think just over the years, I don't know what's kind of changed in me. I don't know. I'd say yes and no. I am happy at times. There are things that make me happy, but overall, am I a happy person? I don't know. And I feel that's okay that I answer that saying, I don't know. I'd love to say that yes, I'm always happy and I'm always in a great mood and I'm a happy person, but that's just not the truth. So, okay, let's get off of that seriousness. Okay, next is least favorite book you've read / DNF. I think I've only ever DNF'd when I've started keeping track of books. Back when I used to try to force myself to read thrillers all the time, I would DNF books all the time, but I didn't know that was a thing. I would just return them to the library without finishing them. But I really hate not finishing books because I don't like that then they don't count towards my reading goal. I don't count them. And then I just don't like leaving things unfinished. So I think I've only ever DNF'd 3 books. They're Tell Me Pretty Lies by Charlie Rose. I know I've DNF'd for now. I think I'll go back. I was just not really in the mood for it. And I was already in a slump. And I'm if I keep going in this book, this is just gonna put me farther in a slump. And then Queen Takes Night. I know I started that and I DNF'd that, and I don't know if I'd ever go back to it. I just really didn't like it. And then, is it Be With You? Be With Me? The second book in Jennifer L. Armentrout's series when she's writing as Jaylyn that follows Wait For You. I started that. And again, I just was not feeling that. And honestly, I don't know if I will go back, even though it's a brother's best friend book. I think this small town setting vibe that I was getting, I don't like small town romances. I don't like country romances. I don't want anything to do with country music, country, southern gentlemen, small town. It is just not my cup of tea. So when I was getting those very small towny vibes, it was no, thank you. I wouldn't even say that those are my least favorite because I've never finished them. Least favorite book. I've had a lot of duds by Seven Rue. Last year, I read Echo and Birdie. Birdie's taboo as shit. I thought it was a fun time. It's an outrageous time, but a fun time. And Echo, I liked. It was one of my first reverse harems. So then I started reading more of her books, and I think every other book has been a dud. I didn't like 56. When October Starts was fine. I didn't like Genesis. I didn't like Falling for Two. I hated Azula. That was actually going to be in another Banned Forbidden Taboo, but I was I literally just hate this book so much I didn't even want to talk about it. Yeah, I've had quite a few duds following those 2 that I liked. Gabriel's Rapture by Sylvan Reynard, the second book in Gabriel's Inferno. Gabriel's Inferno was fine-ish, but that one I hated. Oh my god, I will never finish that series, and I hate leaving series unfinished, but I will literally never read that 3rd book. I hated it so much. R.I.P. by Charity B was traumatizing. I read that for my last Banned Forbidden and Taboo reading vlog, and it wasn't even the fact that it was a brother and a sister, which I mean yeah, that probably sounds crazy, and I'm that wasn't the thing that bothered me. It was the gruesomeness of the book. It was the murder. It was the descriptions of the murder. It was the Saw level of the goriness. I recently just read Pucked by Helena Hunting, and I did not like that book at all either. The Wives by Taryn Fisher. I was liking that book until the twist at the end, and I was this was just a waste of my time, and this is why I don't really read a lot of thrillers, because thrillers are make or break to me based on the twist, and the twist in The Wives I thought was garbage, and then that ruined the whole book for me. So those are some of my least favorites. This one, when I saw this question, I was like, oh my god, it's like you're like peering into my soul. I got this one on Instagram and it was, what forbidden love trope would you want to write? Because I don't think which surprised me that I got asked this, because I don't think I've ever stated in one of my videos that I write or that I like hope to publish a book one day. Maybe I have. I don't know. I really don't think I have. I have wanted to be an author since I was a little kid. Like I remember it was like Riding the Flume. This author who was from Wisconsin, where I'm from, came to talk into our elementary school class, and it was like in 3rd grade. And she brought in her book and she brought in like all of the little samples of like, this is what I got back from my editor with all these notes. So she was like, being an author is hard work. And like, she was just talking about what it was like to be a writer and like all the drafts. And I remember sitting there and everyone around me was like, oh my God, that's a lot of work. And I was like, I want to do that. And I've always loved writing. I've always loved English. And that was kind of always like the career backup for me. Not really backup. But even when I went through like other phases of being like, I wanted to own my own cake business because I did cake decorating for many years. It was always like, well, if that doesn't work out, I'll be an author. And then when I was in college and I was doing like events planning and I wanted to do like events and music festivals and concerts, it was still always like, but I'll be an author. Even now as I'm working like my corporate job, it's like, but I want to be an author one day. So I've been working for one of my classes in college, my YA fiction class. We had to start a book. We had to write 15,000 words of a book to like start. That was like our final project. I found a story that I just fell in love with when I started writing it, and little did I know that it was romance, but I didn't know what to categorize it as, so I just categorized it as fiction, which now looking back I'm like, that story has always been romance. Going on it when I was in college, and I got about like 30,000 words on it. I just got busy senior year of college, and then I rewrote it as a short story for one of my senior classes. And I should say that professor junior year was very, very encouraging, and I thank her a lot for that. And she kind of gave me the confidence to keep going with it. And then when I turned it into a short story for my senior year class, my professor, Dr. Callahan, he was amazing. Like, he was very, very encouraging and also very constructive with his criticism. He gave me feedback on the short story for that and was like, this could be expanded. He was like, I think you could really run with this idea. And I was like, well, little do you know, I'm working on that. I definitely have kind of put that story on the back burner because it just requires a lot more of myself in that story, if that makes any sense. So I've been working on some other ones that I have ideas for. So back to the original question, what forbidden love trope would you want to write? Which one? I'm like, you know me, because I love a forbidden romance. Funny enough, all of the ideas that I have, literally none of them are super forbidden, even though that's like my favorite to read. But I think if I were to write any, I would write a student teacher book, and I have kind of been like, what could I kind of do that would be different? Because I have read so many of those that I'm kind of like, what could I even do that would be different in a sense for that? But if I would write anyone, it would be that, or it would be Age Gap, because I love both of those, and I do think that I could definitely like run with both of those ideas. This one wasn't a question, it just said do another Banned Forbidden vlog. So I have done 2 Banned Forbidden taboo reading vlogs. I've loved doing both of those. I found like 2 of my all-time favorite books from doing those. I definitely have plans to like kind of always make that something that I do on my channel, because I love just reading books that are so far out of the realm of realistic possibility to me. And so I definitely want to do more. I don't have any plans to do one right now or like anytime soon, but maybe I do one in the new year. I kind of have my videos planned out through the end of the year right now, but I would definitely do one in the new year. Anyone has any recommendations on banned forbidden books, let me know. It is kind of the thing that's kind of tricky about those is that because like a lot of them are banned, they're hard to find. Like I think one of them that was on my list was like Dragonflies by Kay Webster. But I went to her website and she doesn't have a digital version of that book, and she only has the paperback, or she did at the time. And it was $25. And I'm like, I don't want to spend $25 on a book that I don't even know if I'm gonna like. I will definitely do more, just not right now. We have like completely moved so much during this video because look at the sun. Ooh, kind of pretty, but not to just like stare into. I have very sensitive eyes, so I'm gonna kind of back up a bit. Okay, next, Again, I got asked a lot, like, what is your favorite trope? What is your least favorite trope? Like, top 3 of whatever. So I just have favorite and least favorite tropes on here. So my favorite, I feel like it's kind of obvious. I love anything forbidden. I love taboo books. I love student teacher. Like, by far, student teacher is my favorite trope. I love age gap. I do love sports romance. Brother's best friend. I love, yeah, I'd say like anything that, especially like on the taboo end, like anything that is so far out of the possibility of like real life, I love reading about in books. But student teacher is by far my favorite like subtrope. If you say that a book is student teacher, I'm for sure adding it to my TBR. Oh, and coach athlete. That is a trope I didn't know I needed until I read Off Balance. Now I'm like, I need so many coach athlete books. I just love when they're like not supposed to be together and then they make it work. And I also love enemies to lovers. I feel like that's just classic. I want them to hate each other before they love each other. So then on the opposite end of like least favorite, I don't like love triangles. I don't like friends to lovers as much. I hate insta love, not my thing. Yeah, I feel like kind of anything, I guess, that's more like in the traditional sense of like two people like randomly running into each other and like falling in love. I will say, I guess royalty, I don't read a ton of royalty. I think I've maybe only read like 2 books ever with that, and I loved Twisted Games by Anna Huang that has that. But otherwise, like, I would say I don't seek out royalty tropes. I don't love older woman, younger man. That's just not my favorite. I do typically like when the guy's older than the girl or like they're the same age. I don't know. It's not my favorite, and it's fine. If you don't want to read it, don't read it. And if you like to read it, then read it. I have been liking reverse harem a lot more, and I like more like MMF now or like MFM. I would say least favorite is probably anything that it's like that they don't have to fight to be together, because it's just like, yeah, they have like normal circumstances, you know? Okay, we're down to the last 2. What are some books you constantly think about? There are a few books that like I have never forgotten about ever since I read them. And number 1 is Forbidden by Tabitha Suzuma. I have literally not gone like more than a week without thinking about that book ever since I read it last year. And it has just like stuck with me because it like so emotionally destroyed me. It so made me question like everything because it's so like morally wrong. But reading the book, I was like, I can't deny that that I want a happy ending for these 2. And it's safe to say I've never stopped thinking about that book. It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. Also never stopped thinking about that. I do think about that book very regularly. I think it just like really had an impact on me. It just gave me a completely different perspective and like a real look into the mind of women in different kinds of relationships. I don't want to spoil anything, but I'd say I definitely don't stop thinking about that one. The Off Balance series by Lucia Franco, I think for different reasons, more just like pure enjoyment of that. Like, I don't ever stop thinking about that because it is just like these 2 characters had such an epic journey, and like the character development that they went through over the course of those 5 books. I feel like I think about the ACOTAR series on a pretty regular basis in terms of like Mist and Fury and Wings and Ruin. I think in terms of like the journey again the characters go on. Oh, and Sweet Dandelion by Macaulay Smelter. I never stop thinking about that book. It's all, the common theme with all these is books where I connect with the characters, where I'm like invested in them more than I am in the story itself. Like, obviously the story and the plot is important, but if I'm not connected to the characters, I don't care about the plot. Then the last question is, will you ever read the Addicted Calloway Sisters series? So I don't know. When I first started looking at YouTube recommendations, that was like one of the first series that I had jotted down because so many people loved and recommended it. However, it's not, my library does not have the books. It's not on my library's Libby, and it's not on KU. And for that to be like a 10-book series, I don't want to buy 10 books. And like, I don't know if I'm going to like them. So I don't want to buy them if I don't know if I'm going to like them or not. And it's just a lot to invest in, like, time-wise too. Like, 10 books, that can be like half of a month's worth of reading or more for me. I'm not saying never. I definitely would read them, but I'd say that there are a lot more reasons for me not to read them right now than for me to read them. If they ever went on KU or if my library ever got them, I definitely check them out. But I would just say when I would have to like buy them all right now, I just don't want to. I think that they sound good. I've heard a lot of great things about him. I don't know who Connor Cobalt is, but everyone seems to love him, so I don't know. Maybe at some point. Okay, I am so surprised that my laptop is still like up and running. So I don't know who was smiling down on me today, but hopefully this keeps holding up. But that's it for this video today. Again, just thank you seriously so much to every single person who subscribed. I can't say thank you enough to everyone who so far has been so kind to me, both creators and subscribers. Thank you guys so much, and I'm very excited, obviously, to have this channel and this community to be a part of. So that's where I'm gonna cut it for today, and I don't know what's coming next week because, next week will probably be my October wrap-ups. So yeah, that's it for this video, and I will see ya when I see ya.